Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Agatha reviews. I am the clown prince of bad jokes, Travis Snail, and I'm joined by
The Road, Taylor Field.
the Road. Have you done that one before?
Oh, most likely.
Okay, there you go. Even after this episode, there's nothing else you had. Just the Road.
No, I had nothing. I got
Hmm?
nothing.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we got a interesting episode to talk about here. As you can see, it's just myself and Taylor. We will be joined. Kirkland should be joining us. He says next week he'll be
You
back while
said that?
Taylor's gone. Well, because you're likely not there, so that's why I said you got to catch up. You got to finish by then. I told him he planned to, but I do think the 2 hour runtime of the movie we're retroing later for the patrons is probably put a kibosh on that. But subscribe to Patreon to find out what that is. But yes, we are back to review Agatha episode 6. Agatha all along, particularly. Always forget about that. But yeah, as usual, Taylor Field non-spoiler thoughts on this week's episode.
Oh, so I think that it was actually fun to get some comparisons from this episode into like the other episodes because certain storylines you get to see different perspectives and certain things that are paralleling a little bit, and I thought that was fun. Certain revelations. Um, I think I'm more positive on it though. And I mean, some people probably don't like how they unveiled a certain thing, and I can see that, and I don't necessarily like it either. But I think that
Oh,
it's probably like for me, it fits in line with the kind of world that they've built here, with like witches and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's fitting, but I can see that maybe some people, I'm assuming, probably aren't going to be fond of it, but it is what it is. I think that certain
really?
motivations that have kind of come forward are, make sense, but yeah, like I don't know,
I'm
the
curious
episode.
what this is.
I like the episode over last week a little bit more, but I don't know if it was like necessarily blowing it out of the water. I feel like the way it ended, it just ended in a way that kind of re it ended similar to last week's episode, but it just, I guess, reinforced what we already knew, and that's fine. It gave us a little bit more depth on certain things here, which is great. Uh yeah, I guess that's it without spoiling it because it's yeah.
Okay.
Go over you.
Go over you.
Go over you.
Koba goes. Yeah, no, I, I think I could say this was my favorite episode just because episode 1 was the introduction, right? And then episode 2 was the collection, and then 3, 4, and 5 were all the start on the road, do a trial, back to the road, right? So all the episodes have kind of had, even the introduction is just kind of a repeat of WandaVision in a sense, right? It's Agatha going through those motions, and then the introduction or the collecting the team. Yeah, that's fun, but I think this was my favorite just because I was curious what they were going to do with this reveal. Because in the comics, there's multiple, I think there's multiple ways. I'm not as hard on. I don't know if I want
Hard
to say
on.
that. I'm not as like knowledgeable when it comes to the to this section of characters. I have read them, but the origins, everything like that. I don't think I ever have. If I read them, it was like a once. Like okay, cool, but like the as I've said before, like Young Avengers stuff like that never was my bag, as we talked about just last night on the newscast. Teen heroes, kid heroes, not for your boy Travis back when he was a kid or teen. So I was curious. I liked what they did. I liked the pacing of this episode. I think whatever, it's minor spoilers, but it is funny that just earlier this week or like a couple days ago, Penguin, we got a very similar episode as far as reveal, and then okay, we're gonna go back, and it's funny that I said this, at least I think we all talked about this, but with Penguin especially, I was like, man, it's so disappointing because I feel like we've talked about this with Star Wars and MCU, and I think even with WandaVision at times being like, oh, I feel like we might have even said, or at least myself said, oh, it'd be great if like Agatha got a whole episode. Now, obviously, she got a series, but this is that. It is taking a character, which I think this character needs it because it is a big revelation. Like, obviously, we knew it, but I mean, like, for the one, obviously, the general audience, but two, just going forward. It is kind of funny that I'll talk about this in spoilers. That this one storyline, it's just pretty much to the TV for such a big storyline. It's just if you were to skip all the TV shows, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on with these sets of characters? For such a to me big thing. But I digress. But yeah, no, I think it would be my favorite. I like the pacing. It made me like Teen, or whoever he's revealed to be, which even Disney's tweeted it out and everything like that. But just in case anyone doesn't know, but I think I'm more invested in that character now. I liked the character more than you had already, but this gave me more investment. I like the journey of why he's there. Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing the flip side of the first episode. I enjoyed all of it for the most part. They bring something back, which I'm sure people that are longtime listeners going to love to hear me have to talk about again. But here we are. Hence my name. So yeah, I think this is the top one. Now it didn't leave me like, oh, I can't wait, but I am. I think I'm more curious about how this show ends, but also just like where do these sets of characters go right after, right? And I guess it could just be Young Avengers and such. But yeah, those are my non-spoiler thoughts. So anything else to bring up before we go down that spoilers road?
No.
All right, so we're gonna take an ad break, and we'll be right back. And we are back. So before we get into the episode, as usual, everything you need to know is down below. But most importantly, November 2nd at 9 a.m. PST, we are doing a 24-hour charity stream to raise money for the BC Children's Hospital. We're trying to hit $2,500. If we hit 1,000, I'm going to shave my head. Multiple tiers. Taylor's going to shave his beard in weird ways. All these donations are tax deductible. We have at least 8 events, but the whole night, night, day, morning, we're there for the whole time. We're playing games, we're hanging out, we're talking to the chat. Trivia is going to be back. There's some chess, there's some college football, there's going to be some charades, there's going to be some Jackbox, there's going to be some Twisters, there's going to be some Marvel Arcade Hour. Lots of good stuff coming, and that's why you just want to hit that link down below. If you can't donate, it would be great if you could join us for our 8th annual extra live stream, but if you can't, just on the day, come watch, like the video, share the link. We'd very much appreciate it, because as we said before, all these proceeds go towards kids and families that need it, that need your help, and anything helps, because it's not, as we've said before, it's nothing. If we don't hit our goal, we don't get to give them the money. Any money we raise goes over to them, and they very much appreciate that. And we appreciate anybody that does help out. Should be another good event. This is usually a highlight for GeekVerse. It's always tons of fun moments and memes and stories come out of this. So if you've never, obviously you can catch a replay, but definitely try to pop in once or twice. And yeah, we would appreciate it, and hope you join us that day. So yeah, that's coming up, Taylor. That's like God, it's like 16 days away, I'm pretty sure. Something like 16, 17. We're close. A couple more weeks. So, you
We're
ready?
close.
Is your body ready?
I think my body's, it's never ready until we're there, and then the wee hours kick in, and it's like, okay, we're in the thick of it. So, yeah.
So now we can, from now on, even next week, spoilers, I don't care. We're calling him Billy Maximoff. No more teen, no more nothing. This is what I had told I guess you and Dylan. I don't know if Kirkland knows. I asked him if he got spoiled on last week. He didn't. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like a big moment for him. But yeah, so that's what this episode is. It's much like, hey, how did Sofia Falcone become, where she's at this point on her knees with a gun in her face? Same thing here. How did it get from teen, throwing a couple witches down the sand to, where he started? And well, even where he started is not per se the person we know, because it's William Kaplan, who is not Billy. So was this the thing that you did not enjoy?
I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy. Like, it was just like, I would have preferred it if they just had it as like, okay, Billy Maximoff, like, just somehow manifested out, like, it was like himself.
But
he
he's
survived.
just a soul.
Just a soul, and that's why, like, it fits with the witch theme and everything like that. So I can, it sells for me. I just wonder, like, are other people going to kind of like that?
I think if you like the witch stuff, you will. Like because I liked the way, because at first I was worried. I don't know why, but I was worried he was just gonna take over a living person, or it was gonna be a weird combo where someone was living with Billy and William inside of them. I thought, well, that could get kind of confusing. But at the same time, he did talk about like, oh, my dad, makes this type of soup. So he had talked about things before. But I think I like this just because it's a they didn't like, technically, as Agatha said, he broke the rules, I guess, of not possessing a body, but still, like, he didn't rob anybody, right? Like, William Kaplan was going to die, and so technically it's like a reincarnation into this body here. But I love that idea, and I would have been fine if we spent a little more time with just because we get that moment where he comes home from the hospital and they just kind of think he's concussed. But I love that it's like, it is kind of fun. Like obviously they don't have this in the MCU, but it's like when we talk about Rings of Power to the Token or the Jackson movies, it is kind of funny. Like the family tree where it's like Magneto, Wanda, and him, and it's not. But I felt like those scenes when he got back from the hospital were very Xavier like, as we've seen in the or Jean Grey when they have those moments where they're hearing voices and they can't control them and they're talking to the voices but not their parents. And I actually would have liked a little bit more, but and good thing again this episode was about I think somewhere just under 40 minutes, but a longer one. So I already get it, and I wonder if there are people. It's tough. I'd love to talk to the people that didn't know the secret, and maybe we'll talk to Kirkland next week and he'll know, and then who did, because I feel like it is like a longer episode to reveal something we just know, right? Like it's, but at the same
Yeah.
time, again, you got to think there are people that don't know. They're not reading all these theories. They're not online. They're just watching, right? But it takes a while, and that's where it's already long enough, I guess, but I would have maybe liked a little bit more if I like that concept of, okay, you've entered someone's body. You have it's pretty much just coming out of a coma and having amnesia because he's Liz's body, has all this stuff in his room, has a family, but as he said, he doesn't remember anything from the pre-accident, right? So I thought that scene when he came home was very interesting with the parents, but then classic, 2010s, 2020s trope 3 years later. And then we just skip all that. And he's like, okay, he's a guy now. He has a boyfriend. He's figured it out enough with his parents not to make him weird. So I liked that aspect. But yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I think I'm happy with him taking an empty vessel over emerging or just taking someone's complete body. We have a Wonder Woman sequel situation where she just takes this guy and gives some Steve Trevor's, right?
Trevor.
Right. So that we didn't want those debates again of what she did or didn't do to him. But yeah, so I liked the execution of it.
Perfect. Yeah, well said. You reminded me, and obviously this is probably the other thing that people really, really don't like, a return of a legendary MCU character.
Legendary. Wow,
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
tough thing. So yeah, so in this episode, he kind of has an idea that he's Billy, but he never outright says it to the end. But he's been doing lots of research the whole time. As I just see someone in our Discord coming talking about the guest star. Doing all this research, no one will talk about it. There's whispers. I like these type of things where he has all the things on the wall and he's like, those aren't spell, or they're not like a training thing. It's the hexes, and he's doing all the research. Like he's spent the last 3 years, it feels like, just trying to get affiliated with his life, but then also just learning some of these things. So then finally, there's a source that I can't remember if he said Reddit or whatever he did, but he found
Reddit, yeah.
it was Reddit. Okay, so he found a source because no one will talk about the Westview thing. Government, the people that live there, it's like a sworn to secrecy, right? But he finds someone on Reddit that's going to talk about it, and then they pull into because he's with his boyfriend at the time. I can't remember his boyfriend's name, but I liked that scene too when he's kissing him and he's like, oh, like he can read his mind and he wants to say I love you, and then he just says it like me, oh, me too. He's like, what do you mean too? I thought that was good, and it was a good little moment there, and got to meet the boyfriend, and I think the boyfriend took it pretty well, I guess. Like just I feel like
They're
again,
teenagers, it's like
I
just go with the
guess.
flow.
I guess again, I would have liked more scenes with them. As far as I'm not saying he needed to be drunk, like that's it, we're broken up or anything, but just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're another person in the body. But I digress. Great boyfriend. Then he accepts it. Cool. They're gonna go meet somebody, and the somebody they're gonna meet has the name of Boner 69, and lo and behold, of course. Evan Peters is back, and he is back as Ralph Boner, aka Randall. Yeah, they love this joke, and that's one thing where it's like, okay, I'm not no longer mad about it because I was when it first happened. Still think it's dumb, and I still think it's just like so here's the thing. I'm of two minds. I like this scene because Evan Peters is a really fucking good actor. I would say he's a I'll say top 20. I don't know if I want to say top 10, but top 20. And he could maybe be a top 10. At times, he's been my pick for the Joker. Go watch him in Dahmer. Go watch American Horror Story. There's tons of stuff. He has a versatility. And even in Quicksilver, he's great there, right? And he has such a good way of, even in this, he does come off as like a deranged individual that's been like fucked up, but he's still funny. He still hits the comedy, right? So I like his acting in the scene because I like Evan Peters, but the boner stuff, it's just like, okay, that's what you want to stick to. Great. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, and then even later on in the show, Agatha has a shirt where it said, like, because they establish she's still living in Boner's house, and it's like,
Yeah.
Boner family reunion. It says pitch a tent. I guess this humor should work on me because, like, if people listen to GeekVerse, we make all types of stupid, immature jokes. But I think it's just maybe because it's like it's still tied to that reveal. And I think it's also just when it came, the finale, everything. I think most people can agree the finale is, other than maybe the last 5 minutes of the scene when they say goodbye to the kids and everything, the finale is weaker. Like fucking, what's her name? Monica Rambeau saying, oh, they'll never know what you gave up for them. It's like, you fucking took over a whole town, you know? It's like, so the finale has tons of problems, and Ralph Boner is one of them. And I guess like I can kind of respect it a little bit of saying, hey, I think, because I thought for sure, because they've done this many times where they put out something out there, and I think there's definitely some people that like it. I know Brent, he gets a giggle out of it, but definitely the majority, I would say, of people were not a fan of that. And there's been many times where you go look and MCU goes, okay, we're going to pull back from that. This time they didn't. They doubled down on it. And I guess I can kind of respect it in a sense of, hey, we like this dumb joke and we're sticking to it. But it just like, it just feels to me like when we get Chat GPT to write Deadpool, that's what it feels like. It just like when it's his name is Boner 69 and like it feels way too type of try hard humor. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. It's also still tied to like the shitty reveal, but yeah, they're definitely not retconning anything. He's what he is. He's a out of work actor. So didn't mind the scene. I thought it was, if you're gonna have anybody be a secretive character, there's really no one else you would have had, right?
A part of me thought, it's Paul Bettany, just like a vision and like doing like his human skin form. A part of me thought, but no,
That would have been wild.
It would've been
Reunited with the
wild.
dad right there and everything. But yeah, what do you think about Boner 69?
I had a good time with this. I think that he played this like crazy conspiracy kind of nut, and was just also traumatized. Suffering from his PTSD, where he's talking about, everyone had it bad with Wanda putting you in this show where you were like watching the show through your eyes and your mind. But he's talking about how he had it worse, right? Because he was in there from Wanda's spell, but then he also was being manipulated by Agatha on top of
Yes.
that. So it just, when he made a good point with that, because it completely it can go over your head thinking about it that way. So I liked his return. I don't think he was being overly Ralph Bonery like before, like boner, like none of
Yeah, they
that.
definitely toned that part down, but I guess you could
Yeah.
say that's Agatha was controlling him a little bit there. I don't know, but
You could, yeah, and I like that at the end of the conversation, he's like, I'll take cash, or like I'll give you half price off tickets for my show. Like we need to fill seats. Like that made me laugh. That was kind of funny.
yeah,
But
that
I
was good.
liked how everything was really traumatic. Like Billy reads his mind, and it's like, oh, don't ask about Agatha, don't ask about Agatha, and just the horror behind his eyes. Like, yeah, he's a really really good actor.
It's
So
a
yeah,
shame this is his MCU role, but
it is a shame, but it's at the end of the day, like I was thinking about, okay, so we have Billy and Tommy that like Tommy exists somewhere, as Billy confirmed here, but Billy is the one that's kind of been reincarnated. We'll talk more about it, but wants to get to the end of the road to find Tommy and bring him back. But when you look at like other multiverses where Wanda exists, we know Billy and Tommy exist in the real world, and that like in their own
Yeah.
unpossessed bodies, right? They exist as themselves. So there's obviously different variants of them, and I think it's just funny how dynamic the multiverse is represented here, because then you have Boner, who is just this random guy, but is not Quicksilver, whereas
No.
the same looking person is Quicksilver in another one. It's hand in hand with Deadpool. You have Chris Evans that is the Torch here, when the same guy looks like Captain America. So I think it fits.
Yeah, so he gives them the information and he sends them off he talks about Agatha. They do some more research, again, doing the classic and anytime you've dealt with a Dracula or a vampire or some immortal character, there's going to be some character that gets on a computer and looks for images of these characters. And of course,
It was
Agatha's in
good.
Agatha's in newspaper. There's an old timey photo. Apparently, she's Dolly Parton's Jolene. Like all this type of stuff. Where it's like, yeah, okay, sure, have some fun here. But yeah, they track her down, and then this is the boyfriend eventually splits off. He decides to go to Westview because he learns Agatha's still there. We get to see, which I actually really liked, the interrogation from his point of view, where that's where we got the Ralph Boner reunion shirt. That scene where she shows him a book, and he goes, just it's just flowers, like it's just Delilah's. Where remember when we in the scene that we got from Agatha, she was a detective, and it was like she was very thrown off guard. So I really liked that back and forth. And I have to ask you too, because I feel like in episode 3, you're iffy on teen. How are you on teen now, where we've been through a lot more episodes, but then especially this one, because this is like a very teen centric I guess now Billy centric episode. Where are you now on Billy? And also, what do you think about the Billy Agatha stuff here?
I like the character. I think he's grown into his shell a little bit more and knowing his actual motivations. Like, yeah, because at the start, I didn't like how he was just kind of like, he felt like cheesy, corny, and just overly comedic, and like it wasn't working for me. But seeing that his motivations are clear here, and seeing that he's actually a really confident character. The whole scene that they had at the end where Billy was talking to Agatha, I love that because Agatha is like poking around at him, and he's just when she's like how did she word that, she was talking about how she wasn't sure at the start, and how she's like, oh, what's a sigil, and she's mocking him. I like that. I like seeing that it was all just an act, and he's really this confident, like, don't fuck with me,
Mostly
I'm not
confident.
afraid of you. Mostly I just felt like he was pretty confident, like even if when he couldn't pull out his powers, he still didn't give a shit. Like he was, I felt like she was definitely intimidated, and she had a little bit of that degree of stress because she's dealing with something Wanda related, and I think Wanda definitely left a pretty deep mark on her. So, after this episode, he's definitely improved for me.
Yeah. Again, I don't think, because they are in the Young Avengers, I don't think he's like, so for me, it, how can I say this? This is like a layered answer here. I am more invested in Billy, where before I, of course, am invested in Wanda. So like, okay, Billy's kid, but until I saw the show, it's just like, okay, it's just Billy's kid. That's not going to get me excited. I still don't think it does. I don't know how the show is doing. I think the ratings have been like going up for the show, which is good. But like, I don't know if this character singularly like sells. Oh man, he's in Young Avengers. Can't wait. But at least for me, it's like another character. It's like, okay, if we go out Kamala Khan, we got Kate Bishop, we got, I'm not sure, I thought we thought about maybe America Chavez, but I won't even include her. But you got Billy. I thought there was another one that we have talked about that we were like, okay, it's those three, and
You
we were
said
excited
Scar?
about. What?
You said Scar?
I did not say Scar. Right?
Scar.
No, it was those rumors we talked about this year of if they were to add X-23. But to me, it's like if you had X-23 and then you had Billy, there's like, okay, I'm getting more invested in the team, and I think they've done a good job here. What I was saying, non-spoilers, though, this is where I'm very curious again with Young Avengers, and even when Wanda comes back, because it's the same thing of like, I've said this just on Penguin, and I'm going to use this example again, but in the opposite direction, where you watch Endgame, Sam gets the shield. If you watch Captain America 4, he's just Captain America. Great. You don't need to watch Falcon Winter Soldier, even though they show you, oh, there's a side story where he really became Captain America, right? You can't do that with, you watch Endgame and then Multiverse of Madness with Wanda, right? Like, you can't do that. Like, it's just very random. She loses Vision, and then all of a sudden she has kids. And it's like, none of that happened. Where Sam, you could easily watch that. So it's just funny again, though, where not only in WandaVision TV show, which luckily for them was a big hit. So I'm sure a lot of people did see it, especially during COVID. People were just starving for content, right? That and Loki were big hits. But still, it's funny that a huge story for Wanda has, I'll say primarily, I know we got some in Multiverse Madness, but has primarily been in the shows where it's the creation of the kids, Vision, Westview, them dying, and now Wanda's kid coming back is in a show again. So I just wonder too, like when you get to a Doomsday or Secret Wars or even a Young Avengers, and it's like, oh, this is Wanda's kid. I wonder how many people are like, what the fuck? If they don't even know, and then two, if they did watch WandaVision, like, didn't that fucking kid die? Like, it is like I think a risky game. I feel like it's smarter to do what they did with Sam, where it's like, hey, here's a side story, or even Echo, but something you don't have to watch just if you're invested. I think these big revelations and stuff are tough for general audience that already have so much. So it was just a thought I've had these past couple of weeks that it's kind of funny that this massive storyline for Wanda's primarily on TV, and that
Hmm.
is not going to translate to everybody. But yeah, we'll have to see wherever they pop up. But yeah, I thought. Did you think it was weird that so last week gets those two witches to throw Agatha down, and then he throws them down? I found it very odd that Agatha just, I guess, just popped up from the quicksand and made it out, and the other two
Yeah.
didn't. That was very odd because I thought when we open up, she was climbing. I'm like, okay, we're gonna see what we talked about last week, right? Where she's stuck in like a different area of the road. She's gonna have to work her way back. But then Billy was just there. I found that very odd that she just could get right back up. It just felt like they did that big moment last week just to have him like turn, like do like a cool action thing. But it felt strange in the moment to me.
Yeah, it detracts in retrospect the build up from the last week's episode
Yeah.
with just the two other witches getting bopped and
Because
her
why did he throw her
not.
in there if he just
Yeah.
like went down the road with her again?
Yeah, so it doesn't make much sense, but I think I do feel like we're gonna get the other witches back in some shape or form now. I
Mm.
wonder if, like, when they both get to the end of the road, could you see an Agatha maybe asking for them to come back? Because she does seem to be getting her powers back already, and
I
then
think they're
Billy will
back
ask for
before that.
Tommy. You think they're back before that?
Yeah, I think that if Agatha could get out that the quicksand, then I think it's gonna happen again too.
Hmm.
They'll get out of there. So no, I think they'll be out of there, especially for some trials. Again, didn't see Rio though, which is very
No, yeah,
interesting.
she's gone.
I thought for sure when he broke the sigil, that person walking behind him, I thought that was Rio, and I thought she was going to be one way or another interested that, oh, you're Wanda Maximoff's kid. I could use this for X, Y, and Z, right? But she's still just kind of gone, which is I'm very curious to see when she's gonna pop back up and where and what's her like. Does she care about? I'm sure she's gonna care that he's Wanda's son, but still, I'm just curious about that whole dynamic. But like I said, yeah, didn't understand the Agatha thing. Just feels very odd that they just walk down the road together again now. But I did like the speech, just like last week. I'm still very much enjoying. That. I feel like Agatha, or sorry, I've combined them. Catherine Hahn is playing Agatha in still like a villainous type of route because
Yeah.
the way she was approaching Billy, to me, it almost feels similar. It's funny. And I put Penguin though on a much higher pedestal, but still, it reminds me of like how Penguin is our main character, but they're slowly like making you more sympathetic towards Sophia and maybe rooting for her, right? I feel like that's what this show's doing, where you're slowly rooting for Billy, even though Agatha's the main character, but Agatha is more in the villain role, I'd say right now. She just comes off very evil, and I think that's a good thing. It wasn't just like a we talked about that last week, and now this week again when she's making her speech about she's kind of mocking him about, like you said, the sigil, his mom, his dad, his brother, all this stuff. She doesn't come off as someone like, oh, like we'll work together. It's fine. I
Hmm.
did. I maybe was growing appreciated you because I found it interesting that she says that she thought it could have been him right away, which I found very odd. I could have found in the middle, but I found that odd that she would have picked up on that right away. Her reasoning was just, oh well, you and your mother have the same tail. It's like, all right, that's kind of a cheap ploy. Like, I guess I don't think you spent that much time with Wanda, but I guess you did. So, but I did like her little like, oh, it's good to see you again, and yeah, I would like him to like talk about if he remembers her at that time, right? Because she was kind of like a auntie like figure. So
That's right.
I would be curious if that has some layover as far as maybe him caring for her. But no, I thought that was a very good scene. I liked how kind of scary she still was in that, very trying to be intimidating, and I'm excited to see where they end up going. And yeah, Sigil's gone. I guess we found out that her name was Lilia, right? That the
I
witch that is
think
may or may not
so.
dead. She put the
Yeah.
sigil on him because she saw. So she saw the future. So I'm guessing she did this because what? Did she maybe worry Agatha or somebody else might kill
I think she
him
worried Agatha would kill him.
if she knew? Yeah. So that's interesting, and I don't know why. I feel like it's weird that she said that a sigil's only broken when you die, and when you don't need it any longer, it served its purpose. But it felt like the sigil was broken because he literally broke it this episode. Like I felt like that was odd. He literally took the sigil and broke it.
Yes, but so it's hard. It's up to interpretation, I guess, because yeah, he literally broke it. But then if she technically died, then that also is in line with it too. So who knows?
That's true. Yeah, I guess so. She did technically die. I'm excited to. I don't know when I will, but even if I watch some scenes of the beginning when she met Agatha and Teen at the time at the shop, right? Because I, out of all the people putting sigils on them, I didn't have her as one of the people, right?
No.
So, but we did get to see all the witches. We saw Alice as a cop, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but we saw her as doing her, routines or whatnot. So yeah, they threw in some stuff there, and yeah, hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully, his parents are gonna be all right with all this. Quite a life they got going on now. They don't know it, but they got the son of this Scarlet Witch type character, and they just lost their own son. So
Yeah, no, it seems like you can't really backtrack on something like that. Like, hey, 3 years ago, like I was not your son. Your son died. I'm
yeah,
Billy. That's got
Billy.
some weight to it. So I don't think they'll process it very well, considering we got like 5 minutes of this episode of them just not processing things
No,
very well.
which I found it was weird. You would think that like he he was in a car accident, he lost a lot of blood. I felt like they're acting overly concerned, like, oh, what the fuck's wrong with him? But it's just like
Yeah,
he might be
free.
concussed. Yeah, like he might be concussed. Like I found that the reactions were a little too hard. Again, I think it's because with the episode they don't have that much time. I would understand if it's like been a couple weeks later and he's still off, but
The
within like a couple, they said he had to stay 1 day. So it's like again, he could be have some whiplash. Like I don't think he's himself. So
No, and even yeah, when they got home and the dad's like, "Oh, I just need the stress to stop happening. I just want to be a normal family again." It's like, yeah, one day after a car accident, and he's already feeling attacked by his parents. So
yeah, and I just feel like I guess yeah for Billy, but at the end of the day, you got to remember he's like, how old was Billy when he died in WandaVision? He has like a Tom Hanks big thing going on, right?
yeah, it's true.
He's like, he is a, I don't know, was he 10 maybe when that happened?
Yeah, you could probably say around 10, I
Let's see, how
think.
old were Billy and Tommy in WandaVision? Let's see. So 10. They ended at 10 there. And I'm not sure. Let's see. Joe Locke. How old is Joe here? Now, I'm not saying he's playing this character's age, but so Joe Locke is 21. Now, I don't think the character's supposed to be 21 because I'm assuming he's still in like high school, right? In this show, like him and his
Yeah.
boyfriend. So let's say he's just like 16. Even then, the kid had to age up 6 years. So and then obviously another three after that, but still just 6 years. So it makes sense why maybe he's not used to a stressful situation, but alas, he's in one.
So here does Endgame. Endgame takes place in. So it starts in 2018, and then it jumps 5 years to 2023. Bear with me for a second here.
Yes.
So after that, it goes. WandaVision takes place 3 weeks after Endgame,
And this is 3
and
years
then
later.
this is 3 years later.
So
So
2026.
2026. And
So
so
we're 2
Multiverse
years
of
from.
Madness, we can say Wanda died technically in 2024, I think is what people are lining it up.
I think so. So
So
there
she's
were.
been dead for 2 years at least. So
Yeah.
Billy came back and was like walking around, but Wanda couldn't sense him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they ever explain that because, especially with the Darkhold, she senses them in a different multiverse, but you don't think she could sense her son's spirit maybe in a body
Yeah,
in the 616, right? That's what's
that's right.
interesting. So, do you think with Tommy, do you think he has the same thing gone into another person's body? Because again, Tommy's powers aren't really that. Billy's more the magical one, but still, the show could just work that way. Or do you think his soul's like floating somewhere? Like, what do you think is going to be going on with Tommy if and when we find him?
Well, he's being detected somewhere according to Billy. So I think Tommy's spirit is just out there and available. I don't think like you would need another death or something like that lined up, and you need to have him to be
Billy's
capable of
just
going
killing
into a
people in
body. Yeah,
Westview, trying to
killing
find the
people.
right vessel for his brother. You know.
He would have to have that magic, but he doesn't. He's just a speedster, right? So
Yes.
I think he's just his spirit is out there, and yeah, either he'll maybe Tommy will have to, or sorry, Billy will have to be like, oh, I need to get you in a vessel, so he kills someone and presents a body for Tommy to take over and possess. I don't know.
I'm gonna say he's just gonna find some kid that's like comatose or something. I don't think he's gonna be killing or doing anything tonight. But yeah. Anything else from this episode we haven't touched upon?
I don't think so. I think that's it. Yeah, the flashback, like you said, how when she's Agatha's basically just been a police detective inside of her own home, not really cracking cases or doing anything. That's kind of funny, but yeah, I think we touched upon rough boner. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, no, I think not, because it's funny. Like, a lot's happened in these episodes, but it's still contained, and lots of it is just like the lead up to, oh, who is he? But it was fun to watch with the girls though, because they don't know he was Scarlet Witch's son. So that was and I had to really explain it to them, because of course they kind of think, oh, was that Agatha's son? I'm like, no, like Maximoff, that's what Scarlet Witch's real name is and stuff. They had watched WandaVision, but I think I said after this we're gonna rewatch. I'm probably gonna rewatch Doctor Strange anyways, because I like that, and Werewolf by Night is like a Marvel type of Halloween time. So I think I'm gonna rewatch WandaVision and that with them to kind of brush them up a little bit. But it was fun with them because the whole time they've been asking since Sigil, like, who is he? Who is he? So it was fun to watch it with them. They would have never guessed, but. Let's see. So Sidna says, so Lilia is the entire reason for the multiverse madness. She put sigil on him before he died, so he was hidden from all the witches. Okay, so that could
That
answer.
makes sense. Why
But
Wanda
then,
couldn't?
why would she want to do that though? Because I don't know how they feel about the Scarlet Witch, but like technically, you maybe could have avoided Wanda dying and some other stuff if she just found one of her sons there, and you know I would imagine maybe they could have found out about the Witch's Road together, and then maybe they will get Tommy. So I said, and I think that's a great reason. So now that answers, okay, why did she do that? But, or sorry, why did Scarlet Witch do what she did? But now I really, and I hope Lily is alive, because I'd like to know why she did that. Like, is it just,
Yeah.
oh, I thought she was going to get killed? But like, Scarlet Witch is like pretty powerful character. So I feel like if you were to, hey, your son's over there, like, I don't know. What do you think? Are we ever gonna get that reason of why she did that?
I hope so, because it's a pretty big reason, and they left it pretty ambiguous and mysterious, right? When we saw her do it in this episode, so I certainly hope that we get some kind of resolution to that choice, because she saw something, and whatever that something is, I'd like to know. I'm just canoning it as Agatha being a threat, maybe murdering him or something like that. So she's like, okay, this sigil and this spell will kind of rectify that, keep you safe.
Yeah, because we're kind of in an odd spot, right? Because they'd first introduced one as just like a person with powers, but now she's like a witch, but she's never been in this coven, so they kind of have some like backpedaling to do there. But yeah, maybe we'll find out next week. We only got a few episodes. Next week should be myself and Patzer, so we'll get like 3 episode reviews from him and hear everything. And then we got 7, 8, and 9. So we're in the home stretch. We're in the end game here, pretty much. So. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone who listened to this episode. We'll be back next week, and I promise you it'll not be boring.